everyone. Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. Was Life is Strange podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I'm here. I'm present, and I'm here in 2023. Indeed,
we've officially made it to 2023, the first episode of many. Hopefully, let's see how far we get on with this. But you know, as I said before, always greatly appreciate everyone who supports the channel. Made it through 2022, very rough year for many of the reasons, in myself and Adam. But we made it through, and also we are now officially past 2,000 plays on all podcast services. So a big thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast via podcast services. If you are new here as well, obviously, as I always start with, please do leave a subscribe, like, turn on notifications, share with your friends. Helps you keep up to date with our content, also helps you support the channel as well. And StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, so you can check us out on Spotify with a video version. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, we're on everything, so you can follow us, download episodes there. So, as Adam said, we're here for 2023. Two topics to kick things off, two interesting topics actually to kick things off.
Yes.
And then we've got a main topic as well. So, so we got cat out of the bag last night. We're recording the
Katy out the bag.
Oh, Katy out the bag, yes. So we're recording the 5th of June. And Katy confirmed on the 5th of June. Actually, this is the 5th of June, US time. I was in the UK when this happened. So she's confirmed on her Twitter, cat's out of the bag again. I'm so excited to announce I will officially be narrating Life is Strange, Steph Story, a novel based off the franchise and written by the lovely Rosiee Thor. Can't wait for you all to dive even deeper into her story. And just quickly add to that as well, Rosiee Thor, who's the author of Steph Story, tweeted as well on that, saying, so excited to share this news. I couldn't imagine anyone else narrating Steph's story other than Steph herself. Katy is an incredible talent who has given a voice and so much more to our favorite girl, and I couldn't be more thrilled she'll be narrating the audiobook. So yes, we have confirmation with that. As Adam, I probably said to Adam, Katy probably knew this for a long time.
Yeah,
and I don't imagine this was a short-term project. So, and obviously after NDAs, we can't really, expect her to tell us straight up that she's being involved in this. But yeah, it was the kind of standard thing that I expected from this with Square Enix. I personally don't think that Steph Story is going to sell hugely. You know, it's a really ultra niche novel on an ultra niche franchise. But I think that the audiobook opens it up to more audiences, and it just, for me, it makes more sense as well to do that with the actors. I mean, like, people have always said to me that they'd love to see, like, during the comics narrated by all the actors that are in there. That would be a cool, just to follow an audiobook form. So this is kind of a nice touch for it. I might actually keep up the Steph Story a bit more now with an audiobook.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's like, I think when you said like narrating comic books, I was like, how would that work? But I don't know. Anything's possible, I guess.
You'd be surprised. Visual cue of each of the frames, and then
true,
the voice actors over it. Well, I only know because, like, I used to have on the PSP the Metal Gear digital graphic novel.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
They reshot all the cutscenes in was it Ashley Wood who did the drawings? They did all the drawings. They had the voice actors over it, and I think even if you did frame by frame, as long as people could follow it and they heard the voice actors, I mean, like, it'd sell loads. Like Hannah Tell, Ashley Birchall, Rihanna DeVries, and Kylie Brown doing narrating in a comic book series. It's like, it's a golden ticket for me, that. So this just makes natural sense as well for them to do this.
Yeah, no, it's good, and that's the thing. Like, I was going to pick this up as a physical book, but you know what? I honestly, since Katy Bentz is going to be narrating the audiobook, I feel like the only way to like consume this book now is through the audio. It's kind of like, I don't know. Audiobooks count as books. As someone who is a reader, audiobooks are books. Like they just are. And for me, I don't get to read as often as I do because I'm doing other things. But with an audiobook, I can actually turn it on and, do things while I read. And to be narrated by Katy Bentz, I don't know, like this, it just seems like, why would I pick up the physical copy? Like, no offense to like Rosiee Thor, because I'm sure she gets paid. Well, she'll get paid either way. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things. I'm like, oh man, I really want a physical copy, but like, the audiobooks just seems to make the most sense to do, you know?
It's more expensive, the audiobook. The audiobook says it's $15, and then the book in itself is $10.
Well, we see 2 price points in this screenshot here. So there's a $9.99.
So the $9.99 will be for the book, I imagine, because it says one to read next to it. So that'll be for the book order, and then the narration will be $15 because it's an audiobook.
Well, let's confirm this. Hold on. Let's go on Amazon, even though I hate supporting Amazon, even though I got gift cards for Christmas, and I had
exactly.
I was just like, oh. And that's the thing. I had to get a specific guitar tool or a guitar part, and the only way I could get it was...
I hate when people keep saying, look, they hate Amazon. It's like, why'd you order from it then? Why'd you watch their videos? Why'd you do this? It's like, if you hate it so much, you don't really hate it as much.
And that's the thing, is it's like, I hate it, but it's like when I need like really niche things.
Exactly,
like,
yes, of course.
Extremely. And it's just
there
sucks.
We go.
I'm like I had to find a MIDI 8 pin to a USB port plug to plug in something, and like nowhere else found it. Like I went everywhere and nobody had it, and I just like, God dang it. And
I might send you a framed picture of Jeff Bezos next Christmas, so you can put it in that wall behind you. Because then next time you're getting your ultra niche products and you can't find them, you can thank the man who founded the company that you're getting it from.
Jeez. Oh yeah, look at that. So I'm on Amazon right now. That is very interesting. I mean, because you're paying a voice actor, I get it.
Yeah, of course it's going to be more expensive. I imagine that's going to be the biggest seller, though, for me personally. Like the audiobook being $15. Like, you know, I ain't going to buy. I as I said to you before, I read it like a snail's pace. The fact that as an audiobook, I'm kind of like, hey, presto, this solves my problem. And on top of that, it'd be for incentive to support Katie as well, because she'd, you know, obviously getting paid for this job. And there might be like royalties or whatever involved in it.
Even on the audiobook, it just says "Life is Strange," Rosiee Thor, and it says "cover to be revealed," and it's a little interesting there. But yeah, and then on the Kindle, which I say I hate Amazon, and yet I read from a Kindle. It's just I can't escape it. You can't escape capitalism. Great.
Here we go.
Maybe I'll switch to Barnes and Nobles has their own Kindle. Yeah, but then it's another capitalism. I hate this world. Anyways.
Play the game.
It really is. God bless America, I guess. I don't know. Screw it. But yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to pick this up an audiobook. You know, it is what it is. It's nice. It'll be nice to hear Katy Bentz like narrating as her character. So yeah, really excited for that part. Like it's great that we actually confirmed it and not just like, come on, Square Enix is not going to give that up to let Katy Bentz narrate it.
It's a long time coming. Like, as I said to you before, and I've said it on this podcast before, like if people connect the dots, the Steph Gingrich arc is strange in, no pun intended, in true colors. Like she was obviously seems to have had a bigger role, and it's kind of been either diluted or changed in development. We'll never know unless like the developers say something, or like, you know, I have a good idea from other people I've spoken to anonymously and everything else in between it. But I just know that this development of this game isn't what people think on the surface of it. And I think like Steph was obviously going to be a big role and big factor of it. They might have changed it at some point, but it just makes sense as well. Like, you know, an entire DLC about her, a book about her. She's one of the characters in the game. It's just like, there's such an emphasis placed on her. Something doesn't make sense there. Like there's a common denominator which doesn't make sense, which is the main game. The fact that she's kind of relegated to a secondary main character, but then at the same time, even in that, her role is a bit diluted with Ryan. It's like, why is Ryan there then at this point? It's like you kind of just putting the choice of sexuality choice in for the sake of it. It's shoehorning it in when it didn't need to be in there. It's never been part of a crux for Life is Strange, that as a formula. It just hasn't. I'd argue it against every single day of the week. It's just never been that kind of thing. It's just become a more modern thing with the series, the way that Square Enix has treated it. But naturally, yeah, I'm thrilled for Katie. Obviously, I've known Katie for a long time. Whatever kind of reservations I have with like Life is Strange, I've always Katie's just a really, really nice person, and you know, full support with that on there. In Rosiee Thor's tweet as well, she put one underneath it saying the audiobook is available for pre-order from the retailer of your choice. I'm a big fan of Libro FM.
Yes.
which functions basically like an Audible, but supports your local book sales instead of a billionaire. Oh, of course. Capitalism's the worst thing in the world, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Capitalism.
Of course it is. Well, I'm not going to try and put too much political things or anything in this, but like, there's a fine line for this kind of stuff because like, if you want to put that out there, you're probably like drinking Starbucks, you're probably doing all kinds of
I hate Starbucks.
Materialistic things.
Specifically because they're so capitalist.
Yeah, oh, come on. And it makes any different from the other coffee shop you go into.
Yes.
They're capitalist as well.
Yes.
Because let me just say this as well. Like, even the independent coffee shop you support and the pretentious ones, if they have the chance to be a Starbucks, they'll take it in a heartbeat. They'll tell all moral ethics out the window. So don't give this kind of like high horse of saying, oh, I don't support Starbucks because of this reason, whilst you're like, eating meat from an inhumane place or something else. World is full of hypocrites. I'm not going to go on too much of a rant on that. Let's not start 2023 in a positive way. But with her, if you want to support a local different service, then do that. If you don't want to and you just want to use Amazon because it's easier and it's more beneficial, then just do that.
And
as well.
to your defense too, there's a bookstore that's by me that's also local, and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say the situation. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get lawsuits.
No, I'm not going to
make a difference. I'm based in the UK. I'm protected by that difference.
Yeah, no. But like, there's like the local bookstores, and there's Barnes and Noble, of course. And then if you go to local, sometimes the owners don't really go behind certain agendas or anything like that, or mistreat employees at all. So even if you shop local, you're still supporting. You could be still supporting somebody who's like not on the people's side. So that's all I'll say is that like, even just because you support local doesn't always mean that you're doing the right thing. In fact,
all bad eggs.
Yeah, like to your point, Starbucks, it's already been proven that they hid themselves as mom and pop shops. So there were like many different like locally owned coffee shops that were actually Starbuckses. So they just like rebranded. And a lot of coffee shops do that. They'll just do, for example, a great coffee shop by me is called Moxie's, like Moxie Java, but they have one downtown called Third Drop, but it's the same company. So it's not like two different companies. Same thing Starbucks did. Like there was Starbucks, and then there was like certain established places that were owned by Starbucks. So shopping local doesn't always mean doing the right thing.
No, it doesn't.
Morals are just in the gray area. Watch The Good Place, and there you go. The Good Place is a great example for that.
If you want to live that much of a moralistic lifestyle, it's impossible because then it's like if you have an iPhone in your hand, well, that phone was made in China, where people are getting paid absolutely nothing. If you don't want to support Starbucks, you want to go to another coffee shop, those owners probably treat their staff like absolute pieces of shit, because that's what I've worked in independent places like that. They're always horrible to their staff. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win, lose-lose situation for both of them. Like, I'm not going to take this podcast off Amazon Music because people will listen through Amazon Podcasts. It's on every podcast service.
I support my music on Spotify. Like I put my music on Spotify, and a lot of people are coming out to say like, "Hey, now." Oh, I'm not going to get into that. No, it's like,
no, let's leave that.
I disagree with one thing that person said. I'm just like, but yeah, no, like Spotify, they say like, oh, they underpay their artists. I'm like, yeah, but like for underground artists, it's our platform that we can like get listeners for. So it's like, I think with what me and Adnan are saying is that you can do the best you can to be your best, but the only thing you can do is to treat others in a kind way. And what you support is maybe not treating others kindly, but you can control your own self. You can control your own emotions. You are the one that is treating people nicely. That's all you can do. That's all you can do in this world. Just try to be nice. Yes,
Adam summed it up. Like, as I said, if you haven't switched off yet, thank you. We enjoy that. But like, as I said, I just find those kind of things great on me a little bit. Like that Rosiee Thor tweet about like, instead of supporting a billionaire, your book is sold on a billionaire's platform. A lot of people will order it from Amazon. It's just hypocritical. But anyway, I'll kind of digress from that.
But good that Katy Bentz is narrating it.
I might cut that out. I don't know. But like, as I said, I just don't like seeing tweet. Anyway, I'm not going to try and get rattled by it. The book is available in different places, audiobooks from different places as well, if you want to listen to it via there. Should we kick into our next topic?
Sure, yeah.
So interesting little bit of news. Didn't expect this. First, was it the first? No, it was the 2nd of January. Don't Nod tweeted saying, Happy New Year to all, and thank you for your support as always. It's been an exciting year, and there's a lot more in store for us and you in 2023. So in this little teaser clip, if you have not watched it, they confirmed that we might see 2 more games from Don't Nod. We definitely got news that Banishers is not the only game coming out from Don't Nod in 2023.
Yes.
That's all they said. But in the video, they tweeted 2 of the images. They put 2 of the images that were shown. So obviously, as we said before, the one that has stars over it and looks, well, one of the ones that we said looked like Tell Me Why.
And it just wasn't even close.
Not even close. Yeah, that one wasn't. That was Banishers. But the other one, which I'll try and show you on a screen here.
Yes.
I want to show you my DMs from Twitter, which if you are watching the video version, so it's this futuristic Remember Me style one, pink background, sci-fi tech one, and this one, which is like a God of War style rock, like Nordic one.
Which is by the artist of all the Life is Strange games. And I'm
Edward Kaplan.
Yes,
I believe.
But yeah, so I'm guessing they're going to say that, like, hey, there's going to be 3 games coming out this year. Banishers.
Interesting as well. After our prediction video where you said we could potentially see 3 games this year, I was very surprised.
Bang. But like that's what I mean. I think the one with The Rock might be a very small game. Like I don't think it's going to be like large and in charge. It might be small like Gerda. But something to put out and something that a lot of fans for Life is Strange are excited for, to see like that kind of art style. But it might be just a smaller game. Now, this one with the cybernetics. Do you think?
Tell me why too.
Do you think Remember Me too?
No, self-publish all the rest of them.
Do you think Remember Me remaster?
No, it's not Remember
Me. Do you think it's the same game but a different name? Like
probably
Memento.
Might be like a spiritual successor.
Yeah, exactly. It might be. That's also a good thing. But like, here's the thing with the other image that we thought was Tell Me Why, and it turned out to be Banishers. I've given up on guessing. Like I've really given up on this. Because like this game with the cybernetics, it could be just like a simulation game, kind of like Potion Craft, but and then The Rock could be like this massive like RPG open world. Like I'm like not sure what to guess with these 2, but I'm excited that we're gonna get 3 games this year.
Well, potentially 3 games. They've confirmed that there's another game coming here, and they showed 2 of the logos. I'm not sure. I think they might have done that intentionally in the case, like, if one gets delayed, they can release the other, maybe. All 3 are coming out. Obviously, like as I said, your prediction was very good for that. I thought there's only going to be 2 major releases this year for them. The one that's obviously noticeable missing is the Montreal videotape, which that now reaffirms that we won't see that until 2024 at the latest. That will be the Banishers, which is obviously developed with Focus, is one of the major blockbuster games they're working on. It's the only game that's worked with a publisher. The rest are all self-published. And I imagine that one has taken a big part of the budget, and Montreal's game will have a large part of the budget. They're the ones that they're going to really try and push, I imagine, for selling-wise. So we can firmly take that off the table, which is obviously a shame, but, I'm very excited. I always have been excited for Luke and Michelle's game, and we'll continue to keep waiting as everyone else is patiently. But these ones are really interesting in itself. Obviously, as we said before, the one with The Rock, which is Edward Kaplan's artwork, that's exciting. I imagine one of these games will be smaller in scale production. I think that one of them is going to be a much bigger kind of like supplementary kind of like accommodation for Banishers as a game from Don't Nod. And another one will kind of be very indie toned, where it's like a bit lower budget, hopeful, like, we could do something. But it's just, I was surprised that Don't Know dropped it so early on in January to confirm that there's more stuff coming from them this year. I wasn't expecting to kind of like just drop it like some point.
It's definitely a safe one. It's definitely a safe, like, hey, it's not the only one. It's not it's not necessarily a promise, but it gives you hope because it's not saying what the titles are. They're just like kind of re-showing you the logos that they already showed you.
Yeah.
Whereas Banishers was a full-on like, hey, this is what it is. This has to be the safest reveal like of all video game history. Just kind of like, it's like, hey, we didn't say that there will be two. We're just kind of showing logos here, no promises, and that's a safe bet. That's a really safe bet to just kind of like do it that way,
I think this is I was talking to my friend and he mentioned a good point where he said like this is the kind of year where we were catching up to the lag from the pandemic. There was like a period of games that weren't released because I think was it last year was very slow for a lot of games coming out. And even the year before that was kind of like a little bit juggling, but it's like now we've kind of like passed the pandemic slow phase. It's like we can start seeing more major releases come out. So maybe Don't Nod has kind of like pushed itself now to kind of get these games out in 2023. Obviously, as I said before, the last major release from Don't Nod was Twin Mirror in 2020, and that was not a commercial success by definition for what Don't Nod would be hoping for. So like these are major releases coming out this year, so this will obviously help replenish the war chest that's there. They've obviously spent heavily with like recruitment in itself. As I said, like some of these games could slip, the schedule could change. Like we have to factor in like where the world is at the minute, recessions, etc., stuff like that. You'll have to move schedules. These games could always change. Like for example, like if hypothetically speaking, if these two games were planned for December next year, and they knew that only December's release window was going to happen, but tomorrow Rockstar Games came out and dropped a trailer for GTA 6 and said we're coming out December 1st. Every studio would move all their games out of that window. No one's going to compete with it. It's gonna. Well, maybe Sega will. They'll probably put a Sonic game out, but every publisher will move their schedule because they will just not compete with that game. That game will annihilate anything in its window. That's in itself a force to be reckoned with. So I still think these games will come out, but we have to factor in if certain things change in development, if development gets pushed back, recessions, etc. If it affects the industry in certain ways, it's going to all play into a factor. But try and get away from all that kind of like random ranting. But in itself, it's good to see that Don't Nod has something else coming out this year. That was my hope as well. I had already predicted that Banishers would be the main game, obviously, and then there's a supplementary one. We might get free, which is quite cool. It means that the timeline's going to move forward. It might even be that next year will be free as well. So you get, obviously, the Montreal game, hopefully, will be the big release, and then 2 other games from Don't Nod.
Yeah.
But no, very excited for them. And obviously, I like the fact that they teased which games it was as well. Because if they would have just like left us hanging, I could have thought it would be maybe Montreal's game or not. Like I could have been like left completely hanging there. But it's just nice to see that there's a confirmation that there's 2 games coming from them, or well, at least 1 game, could be potentially 2.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like it's potentially the 2 because there is a slight promise saying like, and that's not the only release. They never said how many. They never said how little. They just said like, hey, it's not the only thing, and they just showed us pictures. That's it. So I have my hopes set at a reasonable pace. Like saying like I'm thinking that these 2 could be just small projects. They're not like going to be large in scale, like Banishers probably will be. But I'm excited for the one that's like all technology. I like the color scheme. I'm really enjoying that. I remember when we saw these logos for the first time, that was the one that just kind of like struck me as like, oh, what's that? Because it's very like it's colorful. It's got lights blinking. I'm a child, so if there's lights blinking, I'm just like, oh, I'm all interested. Blinking lights, shiny things. Oh, please. And the one from Eduardo, I'm just curious of what the game actually is. So
that could just be like a pure hand-drawn game. Like hand-drawn, like limited, kind of like a platformer kind of game or something with story-driven elements or something. I'm not too sure. I think like the one on the left with which is obviously the futuristic sci-fi-esque game is probably more of a bigger budget. It will be like more heavily story-focused, and that in the same vein as we've known Don't Nod to make games for. But as I said, like I don't know who's working on who. Like I imagine that obviously the Tell Me Why development team, which is based in France, will be working on it. A lot of the studios are obviously all based in France, except for Montreal. So we'll see more from the French division.
Yes,
French-based division. Luc and Michel French. The French-based division we'll see this year. That'll be the big kind of saving grace for us. But yeah, excited nonetheless.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for all this. So we shall see. And I have the highest hopes, I guess, or the lowest hopes, the most mid hopes possible. So
indeed, yeah. I'm as I said to Adam before, it's like 2023. I have very low expectations for the minute. So anything that happens, that's good. I'll take as a win. Speaking of 2023, this will be our main topic. As I said, we only have 2 news pieces, not much. We moved one to next week, which we'll talk about. It's about Steph Story. Need a bit of time to read it as well. But we'll talk about it next week. We're going to move into a main topic. Adam suggested this, which is our 2023 resolutions. So never really expanded on that. Do you want to kick things off? Do you want me to kick things off?
Do you have any goals? As we said, you have goals?
Well, one of them is to restart Life After Strange this year. So I will guarantee that now. I imagine people are wondering what's happened there. Like, my dad died last year. That really threw the entire channel off the entire course of where we were at. We went a massive hiatus for ages. And then before that as well, like we were basically just doing mainline entries for True Colors, like it was nonstop. So like in itself, if you ever wonder how I do that podcast, that's been going since 2020 August, which feels mad how long it's taking. But the process was like really early on was I was recording bulk episodes. So I was like getting loads and loads of emails sent out and doing loads of interviews, then backlogging the episodes. So, like that was kind of like not giving me enough time to sit down, plan the questions out. That's why the first 20 plus episodes are all very similar in vein. A lot of some of the questions overlap. Scheduling is like a nightmare as well for like, obviously I'm based in the UK. So it's like when you're reaching out to people, then getting time sorted. Then on top of that, it's like waiting for someone to get a response. So I streamlined it last year when it revamped with the True Colors kind of like, 2021, we revamped it in the True Colors like era. So it's like, and then I spent a lot of time working with the True Colors actors and kind of getting interviews that I wanted to. Some of them will be impossible to reach. Unfortunately, as I'll tell you now, guys, like some people just never going to come on that series, which is a crying shame, but I've had to learn to accept it. But I did plan to restart it this month. So I actually reached out to someone who I planned to get on this podcast for the first episode of 2023. They are unavailable at the minute and asked me to reach back out in a couple of months. So we're going back to the drawing board. I have identified someone else who I'd love to talk to this person actually, which would be really quite interesting. So I'm hoping the podcast kind of comes back. It's process. And I don't really want to send out 6 or 7 emails because this is what I did in 2020 was I was trying to get out to people and tried to reach out to Katy Dan McCann, who played Dave Madsen in Before the Storm and Life is Strange 2, Kylie Brown, and none of them replied, and a couple other people, and then at the same time everyone replied. So I was basically stuck in it. Then at the same time I was interviewing Chandler Mantione, who played Chris in Captain Spirit. And it was like I had all these interviews at the same time, so I didn't even stagnate them. Even I had to say to Dan, I was like, can you please can I come back in a month's time and like reschedule you here? So it's like you can basically get hit by all emails at once if you do if you reach out. So Life After Strange is a big project for me to try and pick back up at this point. It will probably start fizzling out at some point. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the series. Like we're in itself, when I look at it now, it's 33 episodes. I can't remember how many it is now. It's like 31 episodes with 30 of the actors on there. Like that in itself is like a feat. I never thought I'd get 30 actors. And we're talking about 30 actors from a series that's now 8 years old, and across different games. Like people I spoke to, like Serena and Gabrielle from like the Max and Chloe's original motion cap actor. I never thought that would be an interview. Never thought I'd ever even get those interviews. And it's just like, it happened. And like for anyone wondering as well, because I've had this comment as well, I've basically, and I'll give you a nutshell of this, I have basically tried to get an interview with Danny Knight, who played Victoria Chase, for 8 years. So anyone who keeps commenting on the video saying, when's Danny Knight coming on here? What happened to her? I believe she moved on from acting. I tried multiple times to get out to her, never got a comment. So it is what it is. And there's other actors who are basically have just ignored every other request. One flat out turned down the opportunity to come on, which is a big shame, big character. I think a lot of people enjoy it. I'm not going to name who it is. And then other people who just like the scheduling is a nightmare. So it's like, what can you do? Me and Han Soto converse over DMs as well. And he's like, I mean, my last message with Han Soto was, he's like, this is going to be the best interview ever once we lock in our schedules. Ha. And he's just busy as it is. It's like, it's not like he's, not wanting to come on here. It's just, it just takes time. Yeah, it takes time, man. I think the Danielle Vivatis one took 6 months or something to schedule with her. And I was like so fortunate that she actually did it. And I really enjoyed just talking to her. So patience will come with it. And I think like in itself, like with Life After Strange, I think I will try and like branch out into different other games to cover on this channel. Some of the people did say like try and cover other things you want to. I think I'll switch focus on a lot of stuff on Don't Nod as well. I think I'm hoping maybe there'll be like a piece I'll do on Montreal to kind of give people a lowdown of the studio, because we talk about them a lot, but to kind of give you more insight onto the studio from what I know. So that's my plan. That is actually a resolution I have, sort of. It's like in loose terms, because, like as I said, Life After Strange is a is a tough thing to plan and do. And itself as well. Like, to give you the process, one of the more difficult things as well is like obviously some of the actors ask for the questions beforehand for their own reasons. Sometimes it's for kind of like to memorize whatever happened in the past that they can't remember, or just kind of see what you want to talk about, etc. But when they ask the questions in advance, then the questions have to go to them in advance before the interview, so you cut down your time frame even more. And obviously, remember, these aren't like 15-minute talks or anything. These are like hour-long conversations that are going out on YouTube, the better part. So it's like you're having an extensive chat, so you're writing out 15 to 20, 25 questions. But yeah, Life After Strange is one of my goals among many.
Oh yeah. Well, before I say like any of my goals, I do want to say one thing I said on my other podcast, What's the Biz, where we kind of shared our goals. So I'm very much into Stoic philosophy, and there's the two main Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and they're both the glass is half, right? Marcus Aurelius is very much glass half empty. Seneca is very much glass half full in terms of time that we have. And anytime someone's making a goal and they think it's daunting, right? Thinking the words of Marcus Aurelius. Actually, I have it written down in my journal if you don't mind me reading a quote real quick. So Marcus Aurelius, who wrote in his book Meditations, which is just an entire book about his meditations, his thoughts, he would just journal it down. It's a great read. You should go for it if you're into Stoic philosophy. And Marcus Aurelius says, "Remember how long you've been putting this off. How many extensions the gods have gave you. You didn't use them." So basically starting out like, just remember how much time you had. The gods gave you extensions for life, and you're not using your life in the way that you should be. At some point, you have to recognize what the world is that you belong to, what power rules it, and from what source you spring, that there is a limit of time assigned to you. And if you don't use it to free yourself, it will be gone and will never return. So Marcus Aurelius is very much on the side of just like, hey, you don't have enough time, dude. Like, you gotta go. Whereas Seneca is very much half full, where he's just saying like, life is one of the longest things you can ever do. You just have to use your hours correctly. So there's a set amount of hours, but it's like, yeah, it's a long time if you use your hours right. So when we're making goals, you can look at Marcus Aurelius and saying like, there's not enough time. I need to get this accomplished. Or you can look at Seneca and say like, I got all the time in the world. I just need to use my hours right. So, and also What's the Biz, we did some math on how many hours there are in a year in terms of getting at least 7 hours of sleep. Let's say you get 7 hours of sleep, maybe, and then 8 hours of workday. In an entire year, you have over 4,000 hours of free time that's not working or sleeping. 4,000 hours, over like 4,200 some. So if you really think about that, making your goals, you have 4,200 some hours in a year to accomplish these. So it's just something to think about, But one of the goals I made for myself this year, which I'm teetering on one or the other, right? I want to put out 20 songs this year. 20. So last year I put out 15, including the StrangeCast theme song and the Life After Strange theme song.
Yeah.
I put out 15. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. But what if I put out 20, really up my game? The one I keep going back on is just like, I could just focus on getting out more music to get more practice, or I can just focus on getting my full-length album out. like really focus on making that really good. And that's where I'm probably standing at. It's like for Adam Evil, getting the full length album out this year. So I want to make it really good. I'm actually re-releasing Nova Initio to make it sound much more clear and concise. So that would be cool. But yeah, that's one of my goals is to use this year to really focus in on making a really good album. And I hope people will enjoy what I have. So that's one of my goals. What's your goal?
Really good goal.
Yeah.
No, it's a really good goal, that. And people should check your music out because, as I said, we do Life is Strange podcast, and Kylie is on one of the, is in your music.
Essence of Life.
Yeah, so you should definitely check it out. That's like a win-win situation for a lot of people. It's like, again, like another one for me is like to kind of catch up on Life is Strange as well. Like the comic series is like the main one for me now. I want to kind of start again. Like I've got all the other novels, but like I need the other graphic novels, but I need to like sit down and finish the entire series. I never got around to it. Like I bought, I think, was it volume 4 over there or something? I think like volume 4. And then stopped at that point. Obviously, again, things changed last year. So it's like, I want to kind of get back on it and read through them. And kind of like get an idea of what happens. Maybe even try and reach out to Emma Vicelli again, get a second part to our interview that we did last time to kind of finish off and wrap up where we got up to. Who knows? But I think like that's a big one for me. I kind of want to get into that kind of like element of reading a little bit, kind of like diversify myself. It's weird. Like this is kind of like, I feel like you become a bit of a slug with like things that have happened. Like, like because you had like, because I cancelled Netflix last year for the first time after having for 6 years. Just didn't use it, and then eventually cut it. And I was like, I'm so happy with this now. It's like when I want to watch something now, I watch it for the appreciation of it. So it's like even with like Prime Video at the minute, I go on there and watch what I want. Even with Amazon, I don't really order much from there anymore. But it's like I kind of like just watch Prime Video and the videos I want to watch. I'm like, oh, this is really enjoyable for me. But yeah, like I kind of want to like sit down and read more things. I think like I might even try and give a crack at Steph Story and see how I feel with reading novels. God only knows, I have a terrible way of picturing things from imagination, but give that a shot and then read through all the comics, get on kind of top of that. That's kind of like one of my goals. It's kind of like, just kind of keeping on top of things with that. My feeling is kind of try not to ramble. Where was that going at now? So like in itself, I want to basically, in a nutshell, catch up with the comic series, because I know the comics are very divisive, but I really enjoyed it. Especially, I've always said, like, I really enjoy the interesting scenes between Max and Rachel. Like, that just wasn't seen. And every time I mentioned it, and even more recently when we had Kylie on, we had Hannah on, they were very surprised by just hearing it. It's like, those are the actors who played those characters as well. Yeah. And they're even thinking about the possibilities of that. It's like when your imagination looms on that, I'm like, that's for me, a strength of the comic series, like a really good strength of it. So I'm very, very, very much going to catch up on them, if anything. Like, so my progress is trying to get a bit more glued into Life is Strange. And even maybe I might even attempt to go back to Life is Strange 2 this year, maybe. I've always said it to you.
Yeah.
I've only ever played Life is Strange 2 once, I say to people. They're a bit shocked. When I reviewed episodes 1 through 4, left the industry at that point, finished episode 5, never reviewed it. So it's the only episode I never reviewed of Life is Strange 2. And I've never played it since then. So like those are the kind of games that sometimes I wish I never go back to, because it's like when I had a great experience, like that's it. It's so satisfying. I don't need to kind of go back and see anything else. And I'm tempted to at this point just to see how I feel about things. I think it might be time to go back to that game. Great game, man. Great game. I always preach it, man. Play it. It's such a divided game. Like I'm convinced that there's a certain point in your life where you'll sit down and you'll appreciate Life is Strange 2 for where it's at. That's how I feel. Like if you didn't like it the first time, you'll go back. I just defend it because I think it's a good game. Like in itself, as I said, you could possibly say it's the best game in the series. So for like me, I always recommend it to people, whether you like it or not. Like, and just like go back to it and try it. Like, that's what I need to do with True Color myself. I'm going to go back and try it at some point because I need to see if I'm really being as too critical of it for no reason or not. But like, I need to play Life is Strange 2 as well at some point. So it's on my list of things to do.
Oh yeah. You know what? That's a good transition to one of my other goals this year.
Oh.
I am going to read through 10 books.
Ooh.
So whenever somebody asks me, like, do you read? I have the same answer for a long while. Not as much as I would like to. Like, and I think last year I may have read through like 5, maybe 6. Like, I didn't read that much this past year. Just because I was developing my first EP that features Kylie Brown. But I really want to like measure out, because I don't even know like how many books. I'm just guessing 5, I think. But yeah, I have like a goal of reading through 10 books of significance, and I'm already starting on book number 1, which is Jeanette McCurdy's book that she just released. I'm glad my mom died. So far I've read. Title. Yeah, no, it's really good. Like, I'm through the first 5 chapters right now, and it's just it's a story we've all heard before. You know, like how child actors are forced into acting, and it's her story, like going through it. But
what was her name again?
Jeanette McCurdy.
Is she a blonde-haired girl?
Yeah, she played Sam from iCarly. Yeah.
Oh my god! Right. When you said it to me, I started looking as well as on my iPad. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, Jeanette. I was like, why do I look at this? I know this. Oh right, yeah. She's spoken like pretty openly about it. Is everything like Dan Schneider and like a lot of the other stuff that happened? I'll let you continue.
That's the thing. That's why I wanted to read this book, because so for the first 5 chapters is about her home life, and not spoiling too much because, you know, these are the first few chapters I've read. But she was raised Mormon, and as a kid, she didn't want to she was excited to go to church for 3 hours, not because she was excited to go to church, but it was 3 hours away from her house. Like, she wanted to be out of the house, and she was like trying to drag her family out as like a 5-year-old, be like, come on, we gotta go, it's almost time. And like, she's like desperate to get out of her house. And so that goes into like how she got into acting, and how her mother wanted to be an actress, so it's her mother living through Jeanette. And then I'm sure there's going to be more stories about her time in iCarly. So it's a book that I've wanted to read for a while. I'm starting on my year. I have it. I have the physical copy right out there. And I'm going to read through it. I definitely know that I want to finally actually read Obstacle Is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I've only read the first few chapters and life got ahead of me, so didn't do that. Think Again by Adam Grant. So there's definitely books on my list, but Steph Story, going to read through that. But, you know, one of my goals is to actually measure out and just say, like, I'm going to read through 10 books. And if I get to 20 books, I'm very happy. But, you know, life happens. And like I tell people, like, I love to read, just not as much as I would like to, because I'm making music and I'm working full time, and I'm also married, and I need to, you know, be present for my wife and not just like reading a book like, oh yeah, you're still here. So, you know, get some reading done. It is what it is. But it works out because one of Liz's resolutions is to beat 5 games. So while she's playing games, I'm reading a book. So it works out.
Yeah, coordinated effort, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So she's doing that. So like we'll have like little time for there in this.
Her book must be fascinating to read though, because like
it's really good.
Because I've only seen her popping up more recently on TikTok and stuff like that. And that's why when you said the name, I like sat away from it thinking here. Like, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I think I know who that is. And obviously, like the things about Dan Schneider, the allegations keep coming out and out and out about him. And I think, like, obviously, the more you see it as well, and the more questionable things that are shot on iCarly, that were shot on The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, Keenan and Kel, it kind of makes more sense with him. He was heavily involved with Nickelodeon back in the day, major figure with all the main shows that came out, especially during my time as well. They were like, I miss TV like that, like that content.
I would actually recommend you pick up a copy because the chapters are really short. They're super short. I read through 5 chapters in like half an hour. Like it's a good read. And the chapters are super short. There's like 92 chapters and 308 pages, something like that. So like the chapters go really quickly. So it's definitely, I've only read through 5, and yeah, it's so far. I'll let you know when I'm deeper in, but it's a good read so far.
Yeah, please do. I'm quite interested to see how they get on with that. How you get on with it, because I think it's a fascinating read about her life, and then just obviously like as itself, like even her upbringing as well. Yeah, being a child actor is like really difficult. It's like really, really difficult, and like in itself, it's like when I did my interview with Chandler, that was a really strange experience. I'm not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. But I obviously did journalism at MA, if anyone wondering, and like they obviously told us about like interviewing people, like you interview anyone, especially with children as well, like getting forms and stuff like that. But like the process to get that interview done was so weird. Like for example, like I reached out through his Instagram DMs, and then at that point, what was it? It was his agent who ran it. So I thought it was actually him who was running it, completely oblivious, but he's still a young kid. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, maybe he doesn't run it. He's very still young, isn't he? Yeah. Got his agent in there, and his agent was like, asking all these questions. She was like, can we have a look at the questions beforehand? What's this for? Etc. But like, really, it was like genuinely like a conversation, back and forth. And then we had basically scheduled the interview. No, we didn't schedule the interview. So at that point, they wanted to arrange a sit down with me and Chandler and his mum, so he could get to know me. He's only a kid though, isn't he? Yeah. Can you imagine? I'm a 20. How old was I then? 2022. Jesus Christ. I was 27, 26. Like I'm 30 in a couple of months, so I'm trying to like work out where I was at. So like I'm like
tomorrow.
Oh. See, I'm not worried about turning 30 because you're well on the way to 40, so it's like not really a worry.
Well
for me
on the way. I'm only 2 years in.
Yeah, well, there's 8 more for that. You don't need that at that
math.
Point. So no, but like the process with that was like that with a child actor. They're like, can we meet him? And then we didn't do that arrangement because basically she sent me an email saying we need to do the interview today because his schedule's changed. So it's like we can only do the interview today, otherwise we'll have to cancel it. And unfortunately, I was available that day. I had just recorded Nick Schreiner's interview. So Nick Schreiner's interview. Nick Schreiner? Nick Schreiner, yes, Nick Schreiner. Who played Nathan Proscott. I was on his interview. I did his interview. Then 2 hours later, I had to do the Chandler one as well. But then when I did the interview, I was if you want to watch it, you won't see it. But obviously, his mum was in the background, like she's sitting in the corner because again, it's a child, and it's like me. It's like anything can possibly happen. Like you don't know what could actually happen at this point. They're agreeing to do an interview with a guy who runs a YouTube channel, podcast, etc. Could be anyone, couldn't it? Yeah. But that was the level of like child. Like that, I think like he is like much better managed compared to like child actors in the 90s and 2000s. That's why I'm bringing up. I feel like he's much better managed compared to child actors in the early 90s and 2000s, where they basically kind of like got thrown into these kind of like big shows, and like kind of like the parents were kind of almost like quote unquote pimping them out for, this kind of like celebrity clout that they could get. People do it on TikTok. It annoys me all the time. It's like they sell the children. It's like it's creepy as well. Like, do you want the weird part of that as well? It's like, because you signed up to TikTok. Adam's on TikTok now. After slating me for a while, he's now on TikTok, by the way. Capitalism finalist, isn't it? Like, he's
I haven't uploaded a TikTok in like months.
Yeah. Well, he's on it. But in the bottom right-hand corner, you have the arrow which tells you like how many people have downloaded or saved the clip. And you like then look at the content where it's like a young child, and there's like 25,000 people have like downloaded, clipped it, whatever else like that. And you sit there thinking, what the hell's going on here? It's unregulated social media. It shows well, it shows where we're at with that. But anyway, like back on that point, no, like her story will be a fascinating one to read, just to kind of like see. Because obviously, for me as well, I grew up in that era. It's like exactly what I would expect, and more so with all the stuff that happened with Dan Schneider. But it'd be worthwhile for you to report back to us with some more details on that.
Oh yeah, I'll probably finish it. Probably definitely this month for sure. Like I'll even finish it within the next couple weeks. So like it's definitely there. But it's really good so far. Really, really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What else is there now?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else I actually have planned at the minute.
Oh.
My other things would just basically to be kind of like I want to get into a routine of like getting back into a gripping TV show that I really want to commit to, which I'm like weighing up which TV shows I can possibly explore. Because I've seen I think people are now getting really annoyed with Netflix cancelling TV shows after one season because is it Wednesday, that TV show that's really popular?
Wednesday got cancelled?
No, not cancelled, but it could potentially be moving from Netflix. So potentially my boy Jeff Bezos could be picking up for Prime Video.
What the heck?
There were a lot of story. I didn't read the story. I wasn't that interested. I'm not even really care about a TV show. But there is there we go. Is it official, or is it just speculation?
No, it's just like, is Netflix actually going to lose out on Wednesday?
That's it.
Wow.
Because there's another show that they've done called 1899, which my brother recommended. And I haven't watched yet, but they've 1899.
Oh yeah. I wanted to see that. That's on
they've cancelled the second season of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck?
Apparently it has very much rave reviews, but has been cancelled. So that's stupid. Kind of like, yeah. So like, there's a syndrome at the minute where it's like one season wonders at the minute.
Have you watched Ghosts yet? The British version?
No. Ghosts.
Yeah, Ghosts. It's like a sitcom, but like she can see ghosts, but her husband can't. It's pretty charming. I like it. It's British. It's British, but it's not it's not gripping. It's more of just like you put it on just for a good time. You know, it's like it's funny, but for gripping, I'm trying to think of like this really good. I mean, you know what? I'm finally getting Liz to watch, and she really likes it so far. Seinfeld. I'm a huge defender for. Yeah, I defend Seinfeld. People have told me, like, at my own job, that Seinfeld has aged like milk. I'm like, what are you smoking? Like, Seinfeld, like, aged like milk? What are you talking about?
And that was like me. Yeah. No, continue. I thought you were talking about continue.
Well, no, because, like, the whole thing with Seinfeld, it's observational. Like, it's about humanity. It's about, like, what happens in your real life. So it's like, how does that age like milk? Because, like, things are still happening the way it did in the 90s. So I don't know. It's like parking spaces and why are malls so stupid? You know, it's just like, it's situational. I don't know. It's so stupid. Like, Seinfeld's great.
If that has aged like milk, then everything you're consuming at the minute tastes like piss, because Seinfeld has influenced pretty much God knows how many TV shows you probably watched in your lifetime. So if you think that's aged like milk, then you need to reassess what your claim is. That's
everybody at my job said it. I was like, what are you talking about? Like
I've always go on.
No, I'm just like saying, it's like, because it's the beauty about Seinfeld is that it's a show about nothing. It's about nothing. And to make a show that's cohesive while also about nothing is such an art form. Like, I'm a big defender on Seinfeld. But yeah, no, I'm going way off track here. But I'm actually thinking about like a really good show, because I'm usually into movies. I really love like watching films. Like, I'm about to watch Chef on not Chef. Well, Chef's another good movie, but there was one that just came on HBO Max that was recent, and I can't the menu. So I'm about to watch The Menu, so we'll see how that goes. But I haven't watched a lot of TV shows.
Just to I don't want you saying as well, this is like for me where like I always like South Park's my favorite show of all time. I think it's the greatest shows that have ever been made. But then after that, it's Lost. I will defend Lost to the end of the moon. And people always say to me, it's like, when they always want to watch something, I'm like, watch Lost. And they're like, why? It's like, they always say to you, it's like, oh, well, I know the ending is everyone's dead. It's like, no, it's not. That is not the ending.
Yeah.
That if you think that's like when people say the ending of Soprano is like XXY. There's a very famous Family Guy skit with how it ends. I'm not going to give that away, but the Lost one isn't a spoiler. That one's just what people say in like an oblivious kind of way. But it's so much more it's so much more refined than just that of like, oh yeah, it's they're all dead. There's a more sophistication towards that show. And if you don't like that show, then I question what you actually enjoy, because Lost influenced about 80% of TV that you watch right now. Like Westworld, all these shows that came after it, Lost vindicated itself because everyone watched these shows. And I was fortunate enough to watch Lost 6 seasons after it came out. And I watched it my year when how old was I now? I was like 17 when I watched it. It was before my exams, and I got hooked on it. It changed the way I saw TV. It was that good. I cannot, if you've never watched Lost, I recommend it in every purest sense of the way. But that's the problem with like when the people say with Seinfeld, it's like, oh, it's not, it's water like milk. It's like, have you seen what you watch now?
Yeah.
Like stuff I've not watched it, but like stuff like Wednesday, stuff like 8099, so all this stuff that's on the market that's it's always there. And you're not saying that you've not been diluted enough by how much content you have now. Like, I can't tell you how many TV shows I've kept up to date at the minute because I just don't watch them. It's like when people keep saying, "Ooh, watch this show, watch this show, watch this show." I'm not really interested. If it's enough to keep my attention, then I'll watch it. Because it's like my brother said to me, "It's like, oh, you should watch Ring of Power." But if you're going to watch it, you need to sit there and properly engage yourself with it and like, you know, keep your full focus. And at this point, I'm like, I'll get to it at some point. It's not a priority for me because I just don't really care at this point.
Yeah, if I'm going to spend hours on something, it's going to be a video game. Like if I'm going to spend like a certain amount of hours into a piece of media, I'd rather be a video game or a book than a show. I would rather watch a movie, and just kind of like put it through. But that's because also it's just like, I don't know, with movies, it's not that much of a time commitment. But if you watch a really bad TV show, like really awful, then it's just kind of like, oh, well, dang it. Like I just wasted my time with that. I've watched a show that was really good, and I can't remember what it was called. Like me and Liz watched it, and I cannot remember what we did. Oh, it's bugging me because I remember thinking like, wow, that was really good, and I can't remember. I really can't. But I don't watch many shows for that very reason, that we're so diluted that I don't think a lot of TV shows kind of grip me in that way anymore. Because like Ring of Power, I tried to watch that. And oh god, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's awful. It's so bad.
It's just not going to change the wheel. Like you've seen it a million times. Like who cares?
Yeah, but we'll see. I guess it will take like a good writer to make a good show someday. I don't know, but like if there's a respected writer that I watch, that I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm all in for that. Like Vince Gilligan. If Vince Gilligan writes something, I'm all in. Like anything. I wish he would go away from Breaking Bad. I wish he would make a new IP.
Yeah, it's just, oh god.
Yeah, like, I know. Like, I think Vince Gilligan is a genius writer, but I want him to like step away from Breaking Bad.
He's a good writer.
Yeah,
just to kind of like, I think Breaking Bad is for me and I was unfortunately before the hype and hysteria came in. I think is a little bit overrated for a TV show.
Well, that's what I mean. I want to see him like really step out of that. Because, like, yeah, we can say that, like, Breaking Bad was good, but, like, I want to see Vince Gilligan explore other, like, details, other places, and because I want to see his skills as a writer, like, really flourish. But we'll see. Or if it's composed by something. Like, the only reason why I rewatched New Girl is because it's composed by Ludwig Göransson. And anything that Ludwig Göransson composes, I'm in. Game in, even if it's New Girl. Like, oh, Ludwig did that? I'm good. Let's go. But
that sounds like a really familiar name, that Ludwig Göransson.
Ludwig Göransson. Oh, let me tell you about him. So he is a composer behind that New Girl. He's composed Black Panther. He's composed Tenet. He has composed. Well, I've also shouted his name out on this podcast many of times. He did Red. He did Turning Red. He did a lot of things. He's developed tracks for Billie Eilish. Like he's worked with Billie Eilish.
Oh,
before.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's everywhere, dude. Like he doesn't have a genre. He goes from New Girl to Tenet to Billie Eilish to what's the other movie that I was like shocked that he did? I can't remember. But he's done a lot in terms of the composition game. So he's just like, everywhere. You know, same with Hans Zimmer. If Hans Zimmer does anything, you know, I'm all for it. Olivier de Riviere, all for it. Anyways, we're way off track at this point, so it is what it is.
So kind of like I think like in part, and for me at this point, I'll sum my last part up, which is like, like when I said like I want to try something new and like watch things, I like watched Fight Club and I really enjoyed it. Forget how great that film is, but it's like that's what I'm kind of yearning for. It's like with the Life is Strange 1 vibe, I want that kind of game where I'm playing something where it's like it's really immersive, it's worth my time, it's worth every second I spend in 2023. Because like time just feels like non-existent for me at the minute this year.
Yeah,
it's like if I want to do something, I want to do it because I enjoy it, and it's like, you know, it's exactly what I'm hoping for in terms of the kind of like the feeling that I get at the end of it. So that's where I kind of sit with these resolutions. Like some of them are Life is Strange, some of them are not, some are changing kind of back and forth. But as I said, my expectations are very low this year, so I'm going to keep my open mind. But there are quite a few Life is Strange ones I want to get up today. The main one being Life After Strange. I was going to plug it at the end of this podcast, but I did want to mention it during at some point, saying that it will come back at some point. So just be patient with me whilst I try and find someone who will agree to come on it.
Yeah, true. But yeah, no, it looks like we got a lot of goals to accomplish this year. I have a secret goal that I'm not going to say, but yeah, I don't know. Just like thinking about even just making these goals, like I said, tomorrow I turn 32 years old, and just kind of like thinking about that number. I'm 32. It's kind of like one of those things. Like I've had these goals since I was like a kid, and now I'm 32. So it's kind of like, yeah, I could just sit back and just accept what my life is, or I can take steps into making the life that I wanted since I was a kid. So here's to that. Hopefully 2023 will be as not profitable, prosperous, I guess is the word. A good year, like a successful year for me. Who knows? Who knows what this year brings?
Yes, fingers crossed. I'm as I said, my expectations are low. So any win is a win for me this year.
Yeah, true.
So
very true.
We're coming up to the hour mark, Adam. Do you want to do spread the arts, or do you want to cut it out because we did a lot of those resolution things?
I was about to say, I feel like that last 20 minutes has been nothing but spread the arts. So
yeah, this has been the least Life is Strange podcast around today. But as I said, we're going to be in for a rough year, and I think the topics will change, and we'll bring some more meatier ones in. We'll do other little sort of bits and bats, and we'll try and experiment with different things to kind of keep you entertained. But I think we kind of deviated from that, because I think the 2023 scope for me, it can't just be all Life is Strange doesn't exist. So it was kind of weaving it in and out of things. But okay, I feel like we can wrap up then. This will be one of the quote unquote shorter episodes that we've done.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we are done, guys. Appreciate you joining us. If you did enjoy the video, please drop us a like, share, turn on notifications, subscribe. Obviously, we're at 787. I seem to be keep getting hit by this rock where we can't break 780. 780? Yeah, we can't break 780. So if you do subscribe, it does help if you do keep coming back. And obviously, as I said before, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, so you can download episodes there and you can listen to us. Obviously, it's nice as well because we have the views keep changing, so we don't get a huge amount on YouTube, but we get quite a large volume on podcast services. So greatly appreciate whether you watch it, so you can watch video version and you can watch audio version. So hope you enjoyed this episode. As I said, stay tuned. I will try and make some more content for this channel, some different kind of content, etc. Also, Life After Strange is my priority, so do not worry, it will come back at some point. In the meantime, let us know your resolutions 2023, revisiting Life is Strange, revisiting whichever game you want to play. Let us know. We're interested to hear. We really enjoyed hearing some of your 2023 2030 predictions, as we did with Life is Strange, which no one called us out for anything bad at the moment. So as I said, do leave us a comment. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. We will see you in the next episode.
Peace.